what exactly is the role of the product manager within the debate? Before we do that, let's first talk about just in general, what are the different roles within a debate? Generally speaking, every debate has kind of two core kinds of roles. There are facilitators and then there are participants. So how does the product manager fit in? Well, personally, I've seen that product managers are really uniquely suited to tackle both roles. Why is that? Well, you want the product manager to be the facilitator because they generally understand kind of the outline of the problem. They see kind of, these are the different pieces that we're going to need, and these are the pieces that we're missing, kind of we need to bring these kinds of folks in. We've heard that this person hasn't spoken up yet. We very much need them to speak up because that is a core piece of the context that we need. And so they're going to know what topics are relevant, they're going to know what topics are not relevant, and they're going to be able to keep the conversation moving. And so it's really important for the product manager specifically to be the facilitator. If you have kind of anyone not part of the product decision, be a facilitator, right? Like let's say you bring in some external consultant to be your facilitator, or someone from a totally different department, and sometimes you're just not going to get kind of that quality of thought and that quality of conversation that you need. And so having a product manager be the facilitator is actually incredibly important. But on the flip side, you also don't want the product manager to sit it out, because product managers actually have a lot of deep context in terms of understanding what is kind of the long-term product strategy, what is that general trajectory, what is the vision, what is the mission, all that good stuff. What's the context behind the product? Why did we build it this way? Who did we build it for? What were the hard trade-offs that we made? Why did we make these trade-offs, right? And so a product manager is going to have an opinion when they are walking into a particular debate. And so you kind of need both from the product manager. You need them to be the facilitator, but you also need them to be a participant. And so that creates tension, especially because, as we mentioned before, the facilitator is supposed to be neutral, but the participant is supposed to be very opinionated. And it's quite hard to kind of do both. So how are we going to make that work? What I found is that something that can be really helpful is to perceive of ourselves as basically two folks, kind of representing two different roles when we walk into that product debate. One of our roles is going to be that neutral facilitator, and then the other role is going to be that opinionated stakeholder, right? And so you can kind of wear these two different hats. You can say, okay, I'm currently Clement the facilitator. We are going to be running this session in this way. Here's what I'm going to run it this way. Versus, I'm going to take off this facilitator hat. I'm going to put on the opinionated stakeholder hat. I believe we need to go do things this way because here's my product context, here's my project analytics, XYZ. And so this is kind of the context that I am bringing into the conversation, right? And so kind of as you're moving in between these two roles relatively fluidly, it really helps to let people know which role it is that you're playing, because sometimes it can be very confusing.